here.
Hello everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me clearly? Amazing. My Karawali can hear me clearly. So we'll be starting in the next 2 minutes. So quickly, I would just like if you could probably tell your friends or people you're networking with. Okay. Dennis says you can hear me, but with a little static. Um, I hope it gets better along the way. Yes, I hope it gets better along the way. Okay. So you could quickly go to your groups, go to your individual networking groups and inform everybody that we will be starting in the next 2 minutes. And yes, that is basically all for me from now. Before now and 12:07 or between now and 12:07, we will be starting Leadership Summit 2020 Day 2.
Amazing. Thank you guys for joining once again. My name is Mojoyola and I will be managing the first part of this summit for today. Along the line, we have someone who will be managing the other parts. And thank you again once more for joining. Quickly, I would just like to ask for feedback, basically about, how was day one? Was it something you, or was it something that met, or was it a space that met your expectation? Was it a space that okay, it was not up to expectation? So moving from the feedback from yesterday, if you just like to talk, you could just use the raise of hand button and I would definitely give you permission to unmute yourself. So if you just like to maybe share your experience, you could just go ahead and unmute yourself. You could just unmute yourself and you could just share a bit of your experience with us, which is obvious, which session was the one for you, which session were you able to key into the most. So anybody could just go. We have someone, we have Dennis saying the one was times a million. So I'm guessing that was like really, really good for Dennis. Anybody else wants to share his or her experience, this will be a great time to. Amazing. So Susanna is saying day one was amazing as well. Stevie was saying, is talking about the fact that, he really appreciates that the session was on balancing academic and volunteering. So I guess that was, well, a lot of value for you then. Miracle is telling us that though she didn't join on time, but the part where she joined was amazing. Well, I'm glad that was also amazing. So we need more people. I need more people to actually share their experience. So we know that, these are some things that we'll be doing, because now based on feedback, or the feedback from that most of you yesterday, we the feedback was you would love a bit more of interaction in terms of allowing participants to actually ask their questions and not just reading out or typing their questions. So to have a more like a personal touch point with the speakers. So definitely today you would have the opportunity to ask your questions. Well, because of time, and we are so much, or we're very, very time conscious, we would not obviously take everybody, we would not be able to take everybody, but at least the top three people who raises their hands will definitely have the opportunity to ask their questions, to talk. Or Peace saying day one was life transforming. Teresa saying day one was lit. It was educative and insightful. Kingsley talking about how yesterday's network was terrible. Well, we hope today's network is a lot better. I really hope today's network is a lot better, Kingsley. What other feedback? So that is the feedback so far. On YouTube, we read on YouTube so far, and checking Facebook, no comment Facebook as well. So we would have just 2 more minutes to let other people give their comments on how day one was for them. If you would like to speak, you could go ahead and unmute yourself and speak about how day one was for you. If you'd like to type, you could also go ahead and type how day one was for you. Amazing. We have Olarewaju Oluwajoba on Facebook. Olorewaju Oluwajoba on Facebook saying day one was nice and educative. We hope day two would actually be a lot more better. And just finished saying we need to work on our timing. Oh, okay. Okay, that is duly noted, but based on our timeline, time, because day two was supposed, day one rather ended way before time. Day one was supposed to end 10 to 2 o'clock and ended before 2 o'clock, but we'll definitely be out time today. Khadija saying day one was really amazing. Thank you so much for your feedback. Okay, amazing. So quickly, we'll just run through the agenda for day two, and day two promises to be a whole lot better than day one. Well, it's supposed to be bigger and if not better, and day two you get to have a lot more interactive space in terms of having breakout rooms or being grouped into breakout rooms live on Zoom. If you can't find your way to Zoom, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, that would be nice. But if not, this is also going to be amazing. So quickly running through the agenda for day two. Day two starts 12 p.m. and for between 12 p.m. to 12:20 is when we'll be having the opening space, which we have now. And the opening space is basically to know what you think with regards to your feedback from day one. And day two, from 12:20 to 12:50, we'll be having Mrs. Didi Nweli, the CEO of Sahel Consulting, speaking about the team, managing the pressures of youth. She's going to be speaking about the team. And between the hours of 1 p.m. to 12 to 1:30, we'll be having Tauma coming to talk about managing societal pressures. Between the hours of 1:30 between the hours of 1:30 to 2:30, which is going to be a breakout space. We'll be having 3 breakout spaces that will be happening simultaneously. We'll be having a breakout space on finance, we'll be having a breakout space on career, and we'll be having a breakout space on personal branding. Basically, the theme for the personal branding is growing on your own terms. So these are the breakout spaces that will be having. Personal branding would be managed by Mrs. Yetunde Bankole Bernard, popularly known as YBB. And Mrs. Bankole Bernard is a life coach, and well, she has definitely a lot in store for us. And for finance, we'll be having the CEO of Fondo, Taiwo Obasan, who will definitely be taking us on an amazing journey when it comes to how to manage your finances, how to manage the pressures of, oh, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, but I really have maybe I don't really earn enough, or I earn this and I want to know how best I manage my finance. So that is what type of person will be working with us, or will be talking about in the breakout space. Then finally, we have the career space, which will be managed by Mrs. Dupe Akinsiun. Mrs. Dupe Akinsiun is the head on Leadership and Culture Center for Expertise at Coca-Cola Bottling Company. She's also a life coach, speaker, and trainer for the John Maxwell team. So she really has a lot in store for us. I'm very sure the hosts or the anchors for this space would definitely help in diving into what these people have done in introducing you to their profile. After the space, last but definitely not the least, we'll be coming back to the major Zoom links, because these breakout rooms have their own specialized where you'll be joining. It will be shared, or it was shared via mail to everybody who has had the opportunity to go through the attendees booklet to have the links. But definitely, you would also be getting it if you've joined your groups. It will be shared to your groups with regards to the links to actually join this breakout room. So finally, last but not the least, we'll be having Dr. Iyewande Digbeolu. Dr. Iyewande Digbeolu is the co-founder of Money, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, and she'll be coming to speak to us about how we could manage, or how we should manage, or how we can manage our mental health as youth, considering everything that has been happening in this current context with regards to the pressures that we have facing as youths. We definitely will be needing this space. So I advise, after your breakout session, which is going to be ending by 2:30, please try to find your way back to the major room, this link, bit.ly Leadership Summit, a joint Leadership Summit, and be there for Dr. Iyewande Digbeolu's space, where she shares the space. And finally, we'll be having the closing, where we have a lot in store for you. We have a surprise, actually. We have something packaged for you, which will be having someone special come to speak about something very special. I know you may be curious about what that is, but you would have to join to actually be able to find out what that is. So between the hours of 6 to 5, we'll be having this person come to share with us something very important, and I can assure you, you really do not want to miss this space. So that is basically all for me. So we have about 5 minutes before we start to the first session for today. And before we start, like I said, we are actively working on the feedback that you gave us. In just 5 minutes, I will be allocating everybody on the Zoom to breakout rooms where you could actually get to meet random people, because you could just select any room you want. You get to meet random people. The essence of this breakout room is to allow you connect with these people, get to know who exactly they are, and yeah, that's majorly the breakout room. So you can get to choose your room automatically. So all rooms are open. Please get to choose your rooms and get to know everybody, or well, most people on the call, before we start the session in the next 5 minutes. Okay, I really hope in the next 50 seconds, people would start coming to the main rooms back. And I really hope for those who are back already, you've had the opportunity to meet one or two new people. You've had the opportunity to actually network and leverage on the fact that you had a more enclosed space. Before the end of the session or before the end of the day, we'll have an opportunity to actually be grouped again into a breakout room where you also get to, converse with one or two people. And we have Mrs. Ndidi with us already. Good morning, good afternoon, Ma. Can you hear me clearly, Ma? You are muted. You muted.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We really
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. I'm a big fan of AIESEC.
how we as youth can manage everybody a quick overview of who Mrs. Ndidi is. Okay, so Mrs. Ndidi Okonkwo Unwemeli is an expert on African agriculture and nutrition, philanthropy and social innovations. He has over 25 years of international development experience and is a recognized serial entrepreneur, author, and public speaker. Through her work in the private, public, and non-profit sectors, she has led the design and execution of high-impact initiatives focused on policy, strategy, organization, design, ecosystem solutions, and growth. Mrs. Ndidi started a career as a management consultant with McKinsey and Company, working in their Chicago, New York, and Johannesburg office. She holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and an undergraduate degree with honors from the Wharton University School of the University of Pennsylvania. She was a senior fellow at the Mosavar Ramani Center for Business and Government at the Harvard Kennedy School and an Haspin Institute Voice Fellow. She serves on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation, AGRA, Nigerian Brewery PLC, Heineken precisely, Canada Business Day newspaper, Royal DSM Sustainability Board Netherlands, and the African Philanthropy Forum. She is also the author of Social Innovation in Africa, a practical guide for scaling impact. A new book titled Food Entrepreneurs in Africa, Scaling Resilient Agriculture Businesses will be published by Routledge in 2020. She's a TED Global speaker, and her work has been featured on CNN, BBC, and a range of international and local outlets. Without further ado, you're welcome, Mrs. Ndidi, and you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and thanks for this opportunity. I'm a big fan of AIESEC. Some of my best staff from AIESEC, and I've spoken at many AIESEC forums over the years. So I've been asked to speak on managing the future of youth. I don't know if you can see my presentation. Can you just nod if you can see the presentation? Okay. All right. So I have about 20 minutes to give this presentation, and then I'll take some questions. Just mute yourself if you're not speaking. That will really help. So I'm not in the youth category anymore officially, according to the UN, but I have young people in my home and young people in my team. And I did some research on what the major pressures youth are facing are. And they're a long list, and I'm sure this is not complete. But youth suffer from negative body image, especially with social media. Everybody thinks that other people look better than they do. Longing to belong either to a supportive or accepting community beyond their family. In fact, youth are more influenced by their peers and celebrities than their family members. Experience stress and difficulty prioritizing and managing their time. Lots of pressure from parents and peers and society to conform to conflicting experiences. At risk of mental and physical health issues. They lack good mentors, role models, and heroes. Are tempted to begin unhealthy patterns with drugs and alcohol, are exposed to violence on unhealthy social media. They face bullying online and offline, and may participate in risky sexual activity and behavior just for acceptance. And I'm sure many of you are burdened with the black tax. And what is the black tax? Many of you and many of us have so many relatives dependent on us, people asking us to pay school fees when we're not on our own feet yet. And it's called the black tax globally. There are also a lot of cultural norms in our society which continue to put pressure on us. Who is your father? Which big man or godfather is supporting you? For the women or men, why aren't you married? Why aren't you maintaining a lifestyle? Why aren't you living in a certain part of town or driving a certain type of car? As a single woman, can you live by yourself? Uh, Ethnic pressure, pressure around gender, asking for help, is it a sign of weakness? How many relatives are you supporting? This philosophy that I can be successful but not too successful, and that's more applicable to women as well. Because if you're too successful, maybe you won't find a husband. So, what are some tips for navigating these pressures? Lots of social pressures, lots of real pressures in our society. The first is that as a young person, you have to develop a clear personal mission and vision. And when I look at my own life, I started running Faith Foundation when I was 25 and Leap Africa when I was 28. And it really was because I had a very clear sense of personal purpose rooted in my faith in God and the belief that I've been called here to this world to make a difference. And that kept me really focused. I also identified mentors, critics, and role models. And I think every young person needs a mentor, someone they can ask for advice, they can engage with, a critic, someone to tell them the truth, a champion, someone to cheer them on, and then role models, people who you look to who have achieved something. Now, the challenge for young people is not everybody can be all things to you. So I have role models in the area of marriage, someone who's been married happily for 50 years, and role models in the area of my profession. But there's not one person who has everything I'm looking for, and I try to find different role models. Three, you have to create a support network. You have to ask for help. It takes a village. It's not too early to start creating a support network. AIESEC is a support network for some of you, and I know many, many entrepreneurs and friends who are still very close to their friends they met in AIESEC. In fact, when I interviewed the guys who started CC Hub, they said they met in AIESEC and they were in different schools. But through AIESEC, they formed this bond and then they started CC Hub in Lagos. The same applies to quite a few other friends who have started business together. And this network is so important, but actually actively cultivating it, actively nurturing it is critical. Fourth is to surround yourself with individuals who share your vision and values. And this is so critical. And the higher you move up, you need to have people around you who share your vision and values of integrity, values of hard work. If you find that you're in the wrong crowd, it will really affect your mobility and your ability to achieve your highest potential. Invest in building a strong professional and personal network. Invest in lifelong learning. Stay humble and focused. Stay in your lane. I've been telling a lot of my staff, and this is something that young people struggle with in Nigeria, is staying in their lane. You often look at your neighbor to the right or to the left. What are they doing? What are they not doing? How can I be like them? And I always tell young people, everybody has their own race to run. Stay in your lane, run your race, and then find opportunities to serve. And you have to build soft skills, problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, creativity, people management, emotional intelligence. What we value today is not hard technical skills, but it's actually these soft skills. And also where you find yourself, make the commitment to be an excellent employee or an excellent employer. You have to find it within yourself to be driven and self-motivated, to have a positive attitude about things, and to be sincere and ethical. And then I want to get into a few critical things that are important as you try to navigate the pressure. I believe this is a unique time in Nigeria, and it's such an amazing time to be a young Nigerian. I know that you developed your conference theme and everything before the NTARS movement, but what the last 3 weeks have shown us is how powerful young people are. And the beauty and the excitement that I have is that young people are not waiting for power to be given to them, but they're taking power, which is wonderful. And I encourage you to keep pushing and to keep believing that this country will be the country of our dreams. But to be able to really take power, to deal with pressure, and to live up to your highest expectations and your own personal ideals, there are a couple of things you need. You need to be visionary, you need to be innovative, you need to be humble, ethical, a lifelong learner, and a philanthropist. So someone who values service. So the first question I ask all of you is, are you self-aware? Are you self-aware? What I find with a lot of our young people is that they've been so conditioned trying to live somebody else's life or somebody else's expectations of them, either their parents, their peers, that they have actually lost clarity on who they are. And so you have to do an honest self-assessment and say, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And interview two people in your life to discover your blind spots. When was the time I impressed you? When was the time I disappointed you? What do you think I'll achieve in life and why? This is your opportunity to figure out what you are born to do. You know, my parents wanted me to be an accountant because growing up on a university campus in any group, it was very clear that you either have to be an engineer, a doctor, an architect. You know, there were a few things that we were called to do. And very clearly from a young age, um, it, my daughter just brought some breakfast for me, but I've already eaten it. No, thank you. I've already had. I'm sorry about that. You basically have to think about they wanted me to be an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, the engineer. There were a few things you could be. And so from a young age, my mother used to send me annual reports cut out from the backs of company brochures, financial statements. And I really discovered I hated accounting. It was boring. I just didn't like it. I was good in math, but I didn't like accounting. So I told my parents I want to switch to management. And they were like, why? It's only people who can't get into accounting that study management. And guess what? By the time I educated them about what it meant to be a management consultant, that management consultants even made more than accountants, that there was more mobility, you know, it just took a lot of education. And now, whenever I tell my parents I want to do anything, they're 100% supportive because they're like, well, you've made the right decision so far. So it takes time for you, but every young person should be living in their purpose. The time for you to worry about what other people are saying or think of you is not now. This is the time to say, God, what have you called me to do in this life? And then you yourself test it out. What makes you angry? What gives you joy? What propels you? What do you enjoy doing? What are you willing to do for free? Once you figure that out, that is really your life's purpose. And broaden your mind by reading widely. And I've talked about mentors, critics, and champions who can coach and inspire you. And every young person needs an accountability partner and a prayer partner. I've had the same accountability and prayer partners for 20 years. And they know me, they know my journey, they know my struggles, they know the questions I have, the issues I have. And it's so important to have them in your life. Prayer and accountability partners. I encourage all of you to have them. The second part of being self-aware is to change our mindsets. And the question is, do you have a growth mindset? A growth mindset is a way of thinking where if you don't know, you find out. If you, instead of seeing a problem, you see an opportunity. When people criticize you, instead of taking it wrongly, you see it as positive feedback. Instead of saying something is too hard, you change your mindset to believe it's worthwhile. Instead of thinking a lesson is something is difficult, you actually see a lesson in it. Instead of being jealous of your peers, you actually have admiration for them. And that also is around seeing, especially as a difficult time in this country, instead of saying, I can't do it, I can't live here, it's not possible, I can't achieve my highest potential here, I have to move to Canada. Instead, you're changing your mindset to say, Nigeria has opportunities for me, I can make it here. People have made it here, I can do it. So a big part of being self-aware is the ability to give and receive feedback. Feedback is a gift. And I know many, many young people take feedback personally. I have young people in my organization, and when you give them feedback, it's almost like the world has ended. And this realization that it's not personal, it's to help you become better. If you actually can take feedback, especially constructive feedback, and be comfortable receiving it, but also giving it, and you have a right to give that feedback with love to others around you, that helps. And you have to cultivate this. It's critical for dealing with peer pressure, societal pressure, and all the pressure youth face. Another component that I think a lot of young people are blindsided about is this concept of having an emotional bank account. And many young people I know like to be in the debit side. You know, I have some young people in my home and they keep on asking for things. You know, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And that's debit. You're drawing from that person. Credit means you're putting back right? And every young person should strive to have relationships that are balanced, that have a zero balance or even a credit balance, which means instead of always asking, also give. And you don't have to give money or gifts, but you can give your time, you can give your gratitude, you can give your praise, you can give your support. And there are ways to build that bank account to ensure that you are not always depleting with your parents and with your peers and your mentors and each other. And the second is, are you innovative? And I just love the team that led the entire protest because I felt they were very innovative. I mean, they were tagging, and many of you, some of you might have been part of it. They were tagging companies saying, if you're not for us, you're against us. Multinationals were feeling pressure to say, how can we respond in a way that we don't damage our brand, but we also demonstrate that, African lives matter, youth lives matter, police brutality is unacceptable. They were innovative in how they pivoted when there was a crackdown on their bank accounts, where they moved from, cash or transfers to actually saying, let's use Bitcoin. And so with every problem, you have to find a new way of dealing with it. It has to be better, it has to be faster, it has to be more. And I think young people need to be innovative and creative. And to be innovative, you need to be visionary. You need to see things. You need to have a spirit of discernment. You have to see possibilities and opportunities in problems. I started Leap at 28 because I saw a problem in our society. And the problem I saw was that most young people used to say, they used to tell us as a young person, you're a leader of the tomorrow. In the future, you can lead. And I thought about it and I said, the same people who were telling us in the 1970s that we're going to be leaders of the future, we're still leaders in the 80s and 90s and in the 20th century, and now they're still alive, they're still controlling things. What does the future hold in an Africa where the life expectancy is 57? So I started Leap Africa to change mindsets of young people that they could be leaders of today and tomorrow. And today, Leap works in 6 African countries. It's run by Femi Taiwo, who's a young person, an extremely young team of dynamic, driven, and visionary Nigerians. And we have programs not only that train young people directly, but train teachers to deliver our curriculum. We have a lot of innovative programs, and we continue to innovate. And I sit on the board, but I stepped down from day-to-day leadership at Leap in end of 2007. We also have a social innovators program. So if there are any social innovators at AIESEC, please join the social innovators program. You get funding and training to help you scale your social venture. I'm also the co-founder of ACE Foods, and I hope all the AIESEC members use ACE Foods products. And we started ACE Foods 11 years ago because of a problem I saw in society. So I've been motivated by me angry. And what made me angry was that even though we're naturally endowed for agricultural excellence in Africa, we're net importers of food and we have one of the highest rates of malnutrition in the world. And so I decided to co-partner with my husband to start a company that would prove that you could source locally and produce high quality products to feed Nigerians. And today, ACE obviously sells across Nigeria, and we also exports to Europe and other parts of Africa. And we produce a range of spices and complementary food to address malnutrition. We've also started a new company called Nourishing Africa, which I would encourage all of you to go on. It's a home for 1 million entrepreneurs in agriculture and food landscape across Africa. And this was also born out of a problem we saw where people were struggling to find funding and data and training and to find each other. And so it's a one-stop shop for all those interested in agriculture and food. And this was born and registered in the COVID-19 crisis, and we've raised money, and it's run by young people. In fact, our leadership team is under 30, and I'm so proud and excited of what they've been able to accomplish. Number 3, are you ethical? And I know it's tough to be ethical in the Nigerian context, but you need to be ethical because there's currency associated with character. The reason why I've been asked to sit on global and local boards is because when people dig into my history, they find skeletons in my closet. So many young people start, even from their CVs, to start building a life based on lies, based on even lying about their age, their credentials, their work experience. Do not do it. Do not compromise. Stick to your values. God will honor it. Be accountable. Be transparent. Lead by example. With ACE Foods, which I mentioned, we were challenged because a lot of our competitors were doing a lot of crazy things. They would sell chili pepper, they would dye corn, make it red with carcinogenic dye called Sudan red, and sell it for, the same price as product but make a 200% margin while we're making a 20% margin. And the temptation to copy them is there. But we had to say, if we can't eat these products in our homes, our children can't consume them, then there's a problem. So be ethical. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. You should be ethical. 4, are you humble? And this is a huge thing. I know there's pressure in our country to be, to be confident, but there's a big difference between being confident and being humble. You can be confident and humble, but you're not arrogant. I find that there are young people today who, are unemployed. And when I interview them, I say, okay, come in as an intern. I'll pay you 80,000 a month until you prove yourself as an intern. They say, no, I'm not taking anything less than 250,000. Now, I say, okay, go ahead. Now, the interesting thing is, wow, when they come in and they prove themselves after 1 month, I'm even telling them, please take 300,000, take 500,000. I want you to stay. But that short-sightedness and the arrogance limits your ability to achieve impact. Always, always, always be humble enough to say, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I don't know everything. When we started ACE Foods with my Harvard degree, my national honor, I was making 50,000 naira because that's what the company could afford to pay me to start up. And I'd go to collect money from suppliers, and they'll say, wait outside. I'll be waiting for 2 hours, and they don't care who you are. And that was, if I didn't have humility, I wouldn't have waited to build a company. And now today, ACE Foods is being celebrated. That humility is really, really important. 5th, are you disciplined? And this is a challenge, I know, for youth, especially with social media. You can be on your phones 24 hours. You can be watching videos, chatting with your friends. I have this challenge with my children. How do you know when to stop social media and actually focus? So how do you have your time? How do you use your resources? What about your credibility? How do you engage with people? And it's so important to be disciplined about time. Time is the most important resource. So be very careful about how you spend your time. And then what is your say-do ratio? And this has to do with discipline. If I ask all of you, who do you hate doing business with in Nigeria? Most people will say tailors. They always disappoint. They'll say, I'll be ready on the day. Won't be ready. That's the concept of say-do ratio. So when you say you do, it has to be 1-1. I have to trust you. You have to be someone who is reliable. This is critical. And then you have to be a lifelong learner. And I'm sure if you're in AIESEC, you're already a lifelong learner. So I won't spend time on this. But even at my age, I've decided to spend time writing because I want to keep learning to scale the things I've started, like Lead and Sahel and ACE Foods. I wrote a book on social innovation in Africa and interviewed all those who have scaled across the continent. And it lists, how do you scale a social venture? How do you scale a movement? And now this year, I spent the time writing a book to help entrepreneurs in the food and agriculture sector scale. So as I round up, I want you to start thinking about questions that you have to ask yourself as a young person who's dealing with pressure, who's dealing with how to live in a society such as ours. But it's not too early to start thinking about legacy and the impact you want to leave, not just through your work, but through your contributions to society. Aim to be the first, but never the last. Leave a door for others to come in. Mentor at least one other person. Even as a young person, you should be mentored. Educate at least one other person. One of the favorite quotes I love is, if I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. And this is a quote by Isaac Newton. We have to stand on other people's shoulders to see further than them. But once we've gotten up there, we have to give our shoulders to others to stand on. I believe that excellence and integrity has no hiding place. I've taken a lot of risks in my professional career and bowed and stood against peer pressure and pressure from a lot of people. But I believe that excellence and integrity have no hiding place. Please support each other. There's no room for the PhD, pull her down, pull him down syndrome. We can rise together. There's space for us. There's so many white spaces in Nigeria because we haven't even tapped the potential of our country. There's a quote by Madeleine Albright, which I love, which says, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. And it applies to everybody. We have to support each other. It's tough enough to be a citizen in this country. If you do it alone, it's even harder. And then finally, this was my mantra for a few years. And during the SARS, NSARS movement, it came back to me. A young African speaking to an African president said, this generation is no longer asking God to grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change. We're asking the Almighty to grant us the wisdom and courage to change the things we cannot accept. You know, growing up, we used to say this prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But your generation is saying, no, 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 no. I'm not going to accept the things I cannot change. I want to change the things I cannot accept. And I think as Nigerians, this is a unique time in our history. This is a time in our history when we say we cannot accept that young people do not have a voice in this country. We cannot accept the fact that young people are mistreated. We cannot accept the fact that we're considered the poverty capital of the world. We cannot accept the fact that 1 out of every 3 Nigerian children is stunted and malnourished when we have such amazing land and we're naturally endowed for agricultural excellence. There are some things we cannot accept. And my generation obviously has tried but not done what it needs to do. And it's really up to you young people. And to do that, you're going to really, really have to make some key decisions about your future. And one of them I talked about is staying in your lane, saying, you know, God has called me for a time such as this. What has He called me to do? What has He called David? Or what has He called Ahmed? Or what has He called you to do that's unique to you? And how are you going to stand up and be represented? And how are you going to make that difference in your country? It's really about your generation leaving a legacy for the generations behind you. When I think about these young children, I want us to leave Nigeria better for them than we found it. And I look forward to celebrating all of you individually and collectively as you move up on those ladders of success. God bless you.
Hi. Amazing. Thank you so much for your session, Ma. I am sure by now we know that we have to be a lot more self-aware. We have to be a lot more intentional with things that we do. We also have to know, understand the power of actually leveraging on our network in terms of volunteering. And we also have to have an accountability partner, a powerful prayer partner, and a lot more. So now is the space where anybody who has 1 or 2 questions, you could just go ahead and raise your hand, and I will definitely give you speaking rights to actually talk or ask any questions that you have. And if you're watching with us from Facebook or YouTube, you could just type out your questions and they definitely will be asked. Okay, I would assume we do not have any questions on our Facebook page and YouTube page. There are also no questions. I would just like to use this opportunity to inform everyone that Sahel has an event coming up in November 30th, if I am correct, Ma. I don't know, maybe in a few minutes we could maybe just give us a few updates with regards to the event. So I'm very sure a lot of people who have been able to enjoy this space will definitely be willing to actually attend that space also. So you could just maybe a few things about the event.
Yeah, so Sahel is turning 10 and we're having a virtual conference. It's an international conference. We have over 25 speakers from all over the world. And keynote speakers, Dr. Raj Shah from the Rockefeller Foundation is the president. Dr. Agnes Kalibata, who is the president of AGRA and the UN envoy on food. And we also have Lawrence Haddad, who is the ED of the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. It's a free virtual conference, so please sign up. We also have a dairy conference on the 10th of November, which is also free, 12th of November as well. So you can find that on our website. I've just put in the link to Nourishing Africa and to Sahel on the chat box. And Sahel is hiring for Abuja office and for our activities in Kanu, Kaduna, Adamawa, Jigawa, and Plateau. So if you live in any of those states, please send your resume. We're actually recruiting. If you have friends who live in any of the states and are passionate about agriculture and food. I see that some people have questions. Why don't you just type in your question?
So someone has a question on Facebook, but right on Zoom, Anthony asked a question. So Anthony, you could just go ahead and unmute and ask your questions.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for a wonderful session. I actually learned a lot from what you said. So my question is this. You mentioned about being humble when you get an opportunity or when you are presented with a new chance to learn. So my question is this. How do you differentiate between being humble and downplaying your abilities when you are met with a new opportunity? So because I think there's a very big difference between being humble and being and downplaying your own strength. So I want to know where that difference lies in.
You're muted, Ma.
Thank you for the question. You raised a very important issue. So I don't think anybody should downplay what skills they have, what experiences they have. What I mean by humility is how open you are to learning, growing, and receiving feedback. So I use the example of somebody saying, come and do an internship at Sahel, prove yourself, and then we'll give you a full-time job. And the interns get between 50 and 80,000. And you say, no, my worth is 400,000. So I'm not willing to take anything less than 400,000, but you're unemployed. And I don't know who has been advising young people about that, but I can tell you that when I started my career, I actually would go and volunteer. I would say, don't even pay me. Let me volunteer. Let me learn and then prove myself. And guess what? A few weeks in, whenever I've volunteered, it's been people coming to say, no, we want to pay you. We want to pay you something, please. You're too valuable. And I always tell people it's better to start lower and prove yourself than to come in. I've had people that I offered ₦1 million. When they come and start working for me, 1 week in, I'm like, please, I'm going to have to demote you. You can't do the work for ₦1 million. And it's always better to be promoted than demoted. So my brother, that's the point I'm trying to make is how open are you to take feedback? How open are you to recognize that you have to build your strength, your skills? How realistic are you about your own abilities? So there's a fine line, right, between being confident about your abilities and being humble enough to learn and grow. And so that fine line is what you have to walk.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that. We have a question on YouTube from Mayowa K. She's asking, you said something about being called for a purpose. So there are situations where one can have interest in many.
You're breaking up.
How do we merge those, being passionate about Okay, I was saying, someone asked on YouTube saying, you said something about being called for a purpose.
Okay, I think we've lost you, but I got your question. So in response, I would say that there are some people who are multi-talented and have many, many hats they wear, many, many hats. What I always tell them is you can't achieve everything at the same time. You have to prioritize. So I started off being very, very passionate about youth development. And I started Leap Africa. Now I'm very, very passionate about agriculture and food. I'm running Sahel Consulting and have started Nourishing Africa and co-founded Ace Foods. But I didn't do all of them at the same time. If I tried to do all of them at the same time, I would have failed. And you have to be willing to prioritize and focus some effort on each of the interventions and build them up to a point where you can step away. You can't have 5 businesses running at the same time, at the same level, giving the same energy and achieving the same level of success. You kill yourself. I already work too hard because I have my hands in so many pots. So what I always tell people is great when you're multi-talented, put a list of all the talents and all the interests, then prioritize and say, which one am I going to be willing to start first? The other ones I can start subsequently. Once I've gotten the first one up and running and it's doing well, then I can start the second one. Pace yourself. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And God will give most of us many, many more years on this earth to fulfill what He's called us to do. So just stay steadfast in your lane and be focused on what you're called to do, what your skills are, what your strengths are, what your passions are, and engage with your mentors and your role models as you try to prioritize what to start first and which one to take on next. I think I'm out of time. I know you guys have a packed day and a packed schedule. Yeah, so thank you so much for everybody. I put in the HR email for Sahel, for those who are interested in roles at Sahel. So please reach out to Antonia. And we look forward to seeing you on the 12th for our dairy conference and on the 24th for our 10th anniversary. God bless you all. And thanks again, AIESEC.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Ma. Really do appreciate your time. And we look forward to actually attending the event on the 24th of November. Details about the event and links to register will definitely be shared with every participant as an email at the end of the event.
Thank you so much. God bless. Bye.
Amazing. So we'll have 2 minutes before we move right into our next speaker. And if you have other questions, if you have further questions that were not able to be answered, that were not answered during the course of Mrs. Ndidi speaking, feel free to type them out and they will definitely be asked when we'll be sending our questions. So Fumilayo, you have your hands raised up. You could just unmute yourself and speak.
So the question, but it wasn't mentioned during the chat. It was about the book that she put up on the screen about social entrepreneurship. So if I could just get the name and how we can get the book, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, amazing. I'll definitely look into that and make sure that everybody has full details about the book before at the end of the conference. All right, amazing. So again, do not forget to ask your questions on the group and or send your questions to nigeria@aisec.net. Everybody's questions will be sent to their respective speakers. So next on our agenda, we have our next speaker. We have Miriam, properly known as Taoma. Taoma, can you hear me?
Taoma.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure being here with you. And thank you for joining this space. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can.
Before we start this space, I would just like to quickly give a brief of how Taoma is and what exactly will she be speaking about for Leadership Summit 2020. So quickly, Taoma Akpo Kagi Mariam, properly called Tauma, is a graduate of tourism, hospitality, and event management from Kwara State University. She's a popular comedian, event host, cinematographer, and an entrepreneur from Kwara State. Tauma's kit has traveled around the world and gained international recognition. And she is here to speak about the topic, managing societal pressures. You have the floor, Tauma. You are muted. I don't know if you're speaking, but you are muted at the moment. So you could just unmute.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We can no longer hear you. Okay, I don't know if it is. And you are still muted.
Hello, good afternoon. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now. Also, your camera is off. That's intentional.
Hi. Sorry.
Yes, so you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Apalkagi, known as Tauma. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened to the camera, or I don't even know. So, I think I'm going to be speaking about managing societal pressures.
Yes, that's your question. That's your topic, rather.
All right. So let me start from where this is like pressures will always come, as we all know. That's like the normal thing. But I think for a public figure, it's it's extraordinary for someone like me or other people in the entertainment industry, because people expect a lot from us. People expect us to be perfect. Yeah, let me put it that way. And as I always tell people, I'm always myself. I don't give in to pressures. Let me put it that way. I don't give in to pressures. I don't allow anybody to pressure me. I don't allow anything to pressure me, because I know that I'm going to do exactly what I can do, and I'm not going to allow anybody to put me under any pressure, because we are different people. And I know as a public person, people expect a lot from us, but I want everybody to know that we are not perfect. We just do things that we are capable of doing. So managing pressures for me, I always, because I'm a public person, I always just try to shy away from so many things, so that I won't have to I won't have to be in the position of managing that pressure. Exactly. So there's so many times that things happen online, and I will just choose to log out of that application, whether Twitter or Instagram, so I won't have to see it. So I don't have to be under any pressure or whatsoever, because it's quite hard for me. Yeah, let me put it out. It's quite hard for me. I didn't think it was going to be this ad. I don't think having a status or being influential would come with so much pressure. There's so much pressure that I don't even know. I can't explain. It just comes from nowhere. Pressure of meeting up standard, pressure of meeting up with people's work, pressure of even dressing, even speaking. So there are so many things that comes with it, and people expect you to be perfect. But as I always tell people, I myself, I am me. I can decide to speak any English now or speak Yoruba. I can decide to dress anyhow. I'm just a normal person, and I don't allow anything to pressure me at all. I can decide to not wear makeup. I can decide to wear makeup. It depends on me. So I always tell people, do not give in to pressure whatsoever that is coming. Be yourself and do what you can do at a particular point in time. Don't allow anybody to say, oh, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. You have not done this. It gives headache. You start to have anxiety disorder and so many things to your health, which is dangerous. So I don't know if I have spoken about everything, but that is just basically me. That's how I manage my pressure. If there's anything bothering you, maybe online, like Twitter dragging, that kind of something now, I'm going to log out of Twitter. And it is like tomorrow that I feel fine to log in again, or maybe next week. Sometimes I even delete the app because I don't want to see anything. I don't want anybody to tag me or I will have that urge of logging in back. So I'll just delete the app so that I won't see anything. So these are the ways that I manage pressures in my own. And I sleep a lot. Trust me, that thing is the word. Sleeping, and food. When you eat food, like the dog and sleep, anything you're thinking of is like weed. Yeah, that's like that's like my own highness. I eat and I sleep. That's all. So you can do so many things that makes you happy instead of crying over one thing somebody said or something. You can do so many things that make you happy. It doesn't have to be something that involves spending. Yeah, not everybody has the money to spend, like, oh, because I'm not happy or something. So that's it. That's me.
Amazing. So thank you for sharing your experience. So we'll just like anybody who has a few questions will be able to ask. But for me specifically, in terms of Leadership Summit, I would just like to. So as a public figure, yes, or maybe let's say public figure, you were an individual who goes around our day-to-day activity, doing our day-to-day or playing a day-to-day role, as the case may be. Yes. So how? Moving from that to now, there are a lot of expectations that have come with the role, yes. So maybe especially at the earlier stages of your career, how exactly were you able to manage societal pressures, expectations from people? Now they used to know someone who was here as an individual, but now you're there, everybody. So how would you specifically advise people in terms of, especially youth in the current context of police brutality, in the current context of a lot of things, to actually manage societal pressure?
So, as I would say, when I was coming up, I won't deny not giving into pressure. I really felt pressured. I felt the need of, I need to do something. I need to blow, that kind of feeling. But honestly, it is not worth it, because trust me, whether you do anything now or anything, whether you stress yourself, your time is your time. If your time is not yet, if it's not yet your time, it is not yet your time. So you don't have to pressure yourself for anything. Just keep going. I wish I had someone to tell me that. Although I have. I mean, I have someone to tell me that, but I just didn't listen. So as a young person, we are all young, I mean, but you have to find your way around yourself. You have to know how to handle things and how not to put into pressure that people give you, because trust me, especially in this line on entertainment, you're going to feel like, oh wow, so many people are doing it and I'm not getting it yet. But trust me, that's just is nonsense. When it's your time, and nobody will stop you. Absolutely nothing will stop you. So just keep going. As I said, sleep and food used to work very well. Hey, it was like magic. It was like I know people are going to say I like sleeping and all of that. I like eating, but trust me, I've tested. It's tested and trusted. I can vouch for it very well. Eat the food that you like the most and sleep. And when you wake up, it's going to. And also peer pressure. Don't give in to peer pressure. So many people will be telling you have not done this, you're supposed to do this, and all of that. But it's a lie. Oh, no, just lying. All these people, they're just lying. They themselves, they don't have their lives get together. Nobody has everything together. Everybody's struggling. I don't know if I answered your question, Sha.
Amazing. That's every question for me. I don't know if anybody has any questions, so I would just allow you, when you put up your hands, you could just ask your questions. If you have a question, Thelma, you can also ask your question. Okay, let's see. If you please just raise up your hand so your name can come to the top of the chat and I can unmute you. Okay, Ibukun, you're muted. You can just ask your question.
Good afternoon, Taoma.
Good afternoon, Ibukun.
Thank you for the session. The question I want to ask is this: what's the key to your consistency in putting out work?
The key, okay. Majorly because that money is inside. That's why. But yeah, it's mainly passion. It's because I really, really do like what I do. I feel good when I put out videos and I see people like really liking it, they share it. Even my mom sends it as WhatsApp BC every time. And I'll be like, wow, that's really nice. So these things, they keep me going. I really like it. People even send me prayer messages and I'll be like, imagine me getting prayer messages every day. That's like, so I always want to keep put something out there because I know I'm making at least a few people happy, genuinely happy, and they pray for me genuinely. So that keeps me good.
All right, thank you. Can I ask a follow-up question, please?
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so what happens when like it becomes hard to stay consistent? Like I know that it's not always easy, it's not always fun, it's not always rosy times when you want to like be consistent. Sometimes it gets very difficult to keep going. So what keeps you going in those times when it is very difficult?
Prayer and food and sleep. I am I am talking. I keep saying I pray. Actually, I wasn't this kind of person that used to pray a lot. They used to force me to go and pray. They used to beat me to go and pray. But now I know the real essence. I believe so much in it. Trust me, prayer does a lot of things because it's really hard. Yes. Keep going, to keep the consistency is really, really hard. You just feel sudden tiredness and all of those things and laziness. So I pray and I eat and I sleep. That's like my normal routine. Whenever I see things are not going fine, I just go to a prayer mat and I pray and everything starts working out.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Taoma.
Thank you, Bukur.
Amazing. Edmond, you raised up your hand to ask a question. Do you still want to ask the question? So I will just be unmuting you. Edmond Patrick. So you can go ahead and ask your question, Edmond.
Ibukun already said something. I need to ask. It was almost what Ibukun said. So.
Amazing. So next person we have is Justice. Justice, you could just go ahead and unmute.
All right. Thank you so much, Thelma. I actually appreciated your session. So, do you have any issues with time management? Especially, you mentioned you pray, you eat, you sleep, and all, you do your job. Do you have any issues with time management at all in the course of your line of duty?
Yeah, time management is like, it's like, what's it called? The time goes very fast, like very, very fast. Especially when when I have a lot of things to do, time goes very fast, and I have to even set alarm for this and this. It seems like the 24 hours is not enough for the things I have to do, and coupled with the fact that I use most of my time sleeping, so I probably don't have time for so many other things, even family. Sometimes my mom calls me and be like, you didn't call me today, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. So time is like something you cannot hold, but I make use of it most the way I can use it. Yeah, I use maximum whatever of my time.
Amazing. So Grace Apikoye, you can unmute and ask your questions.
Hello, Tao. Can you hear me?
Hi, Grace. I can hear you.
All right. So thank you so much for your question. For your session. So my question is, have you ever been overwhelmed by the amount of wealth that you have and, the whole fame, and how did you manage it?
Yes. How would I say it? Let me not say I didn't believe, because I've always been praying from small to be good and to be comfortable enough. But yeah, I've been overwhelmed, because there's sometimes that I'll just sit down and I'll look at myself and I'll be like, wow. And I say, thank God, alhamdulillah, because there's so many people in my shoes right now that they don't even know where they're going. And I always thank God for where I am. And how I curb myself, I'll give my mom that kudos, because she never let me do anything stupid, and she never let anything that I have right now or anything that I am right now to get into my head. She always tell me that I should always thank God, because this is not by my doing, it's just by the grace of God. So nothing will ever get in my head, nothing.
All right. So my second question is, when you started off, that most times in Nigeria homes, they feel like it just has to be the university line education, or then you have a white collar job or something. So this is, comedy is something different from that. So did you receive support from your family? What was their reception, the very moment you started comedy?
So when I started, my mom knew, my sister knew, my dad knew, everybody knew about it, but they were indifferent about it. Not like they didn't like it or they actually really like it. But my mom was just concerned about my school. As long as you're not failing in school, you're not diverting from your school, it's fine by me. Whatever you do, it's not really my business. And yeah, I had all the things I needed. I had my phone, I had my laptop. So I had all the things I needed that could help me to come up. So as long as I didn't divert from school, my mom really didn't have any issues with it.
All right. Thank you very much, Tao.
Thank you.
Amazing. So we have some people in the comments box. So Kinsley is asking, are you ever worried about your kids not getting the reception you desire, especially when you just started? Were you ever worried about your kids not getting the reception you desire?
Yes, everybody, even up till now, whatever I want to post, I always think, what if they don't like it? But then I just be like, okay, let me just post it. At least let me just post. But when I was coming up, I won't lie, I wasn't really worried about my kid not getting reception, because that wasn't my main plan. My main plan was to learn how to edit videos, shoot videos and edit. I really didn't. I just upload and go. That's just my main thing. I really didn't see that, oh, whether they like it or not. But then when I started getting when I started to get reception, then I was like, okay. Then I started getting worried. I started following up with the engagement and all of that. And I started getting worried about, they didn't like this video. Let me change this thing about it. Let me change this thing. So.
Amazing. So one more question in the comment section before we allow everybody else to unmute and ask is from Ahmed Bashir. Ahmed Bashir is asking, how did you manage, or how do you manage to laugh and smile through everything? How do you constantly manage to laugh and smile through everything?
I just, how would I say it? I just I feel being happy is like the healthiest thing to do. So whatever I do, I make sure I'm always happy. I do things that make me happy. I don't care. I actually don't care about any other person or other people around me. As long as this thing makes me happy, I really don't mind. So I just do things that makes me happy. And the fact that I do things, I make skits, I make videos that makes other people happy, and they give comments that are really, really amazing. And I just sit down, I cross my leg, and I'll be scrolling through the comments, and I say things like, oh, you're amazing, God bless you, and prayers and all those things. They make me laugh a lot. They make me smile. They make me feel like, yes, I'm doing something really nice.
Amazing. So we have just 4 more questions before the time runs out. So Favor, you can go ahead.
Oh, hi, Harold.
Hi, Favor.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my question is just simple, like, how are you able to with the program?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Can I continue?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so my question is like, with the peer pressure and with your schooling and with what people will say, how are you able to now continue with performing your skits and also be able to focus on your schooling?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. Because of when I started in school, I didn't have any recognition, so people probably felt like I was doing nonsense, and I really used to feel bad that I'm doing something and nobody even sees me and all of those things. And they wouldn't be calling comedians in school, and nobody was going to call my name and all those things. I used to feel bad, but as I always say, I don't allow things to get to me. I just do my thing and leave. No matter how bad you make me feel, I can just get sad for a little while. But when I see food, please, everything is gone. So I always don't let things get through to me. And I concentrated more on getting my work better and also focusing with school. Yeah.
Okay, one last question, please.
All right.
So now, when you started getting the recognition and other maybe endorsement and stuff like that, so are you able to pair with other comedians in the industry? Like, are you able to relate? Like, are you not kind of how am I going to confront this person? Okay, let's say like Mr. Macaroni or T-Wise, how am I going to confront this person? They're already in industry more than me. How am I going? Is my skills going to make them kind of wow them, or do you get what I'm trying to say?
I just feel as colleagues, the relationship is going to flow automatically. It's going to flow when you start from following and all of that. The relationship flows when the person follows you and you follow back. Just DM normally, and the relationship flows as it goes. So I wasn't. I think you just started. It just started out of the blue. That's it. The conversation and making skits and all of that, it started out of the blue. So when they followed and I followed back and we started talking, oh, let's make a skit together. And that's it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sonny, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Tao.
Hi.
Okay, thank you so much for a wonderful session. You've been amazing. My
Thank you
question
too.
is, my question is, how are you able to handle criticism? Because I know in the industry, not everyone is going to be in for you. So how do you handle the pressure of this person that you know that they're literally not in for you? How do you handle it?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. I didn't hear properly.
I said, my question is, how are you able to handle criticism in this industry? Because we all know that in a place, not everybody is going to be in for you. So how do you handle the pressure? Okay, this person is not in for me. How do I handle the pressure? Okay, this person is all coming all out for me, but I know that he or she does not
Yeah.
like me. How do you handle the criticism?
Okay, so when people criticize my work, sometimes I tend to reply because it gets me like, how can you criticize? How can you? And the way people criticize in Nigeria, especially, is not like just on a neutral ground. They talk to you, they message, like they send they type that stuff like they had a problem with you before or they know you personally, and then they just be like, your work is not good, you idiot, you stupid. And sometimes I want to pull the person and be like, guy, you don't talk to people like this. If you don't like my work, you just pass. Or if you feel like I did something wrong and you feel, oh, I can improve on this thing, it's just easy for you to go into my DM and talk. Or even if you want to comment publicly, you just say something that won't make me feel so bad or something. So I sometimes I reply people and sometimes I just ignore and be like, I can't reply everybody, but whatever you feel about me, not everybody's going to like you, definitely. So whatever I feel about me, maybe sometime when you meet me and you see me and you probably that impression will change. So sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't reply. Depends on my mood. And sometimes I get so angry that I'll just insult the person back because please, I'm also human. You can't talk to me like that and not expect me to react. So
Thank you very much.
all right, thank you.
So just two more questions. Ahmed, you were muted. I could not hear you, and Ayobright, before we move to the breakout rooms, please. So Ahmed, please unmute and just ask your questions. Please, just one question, no follow-up question. Thank you very much. Just one question. Ahmed, we can't hear you, Ahmed.
Hello?
Okay, we
Hello,
can
I
hear
can
you
hear
now.
you, Ahmed.
Okay, so my question is on like, what do you think, how do you see yourself like on the long term evolving like as an artist, especially like long term? Okay. I mean, for a while, like, do you think you're going to continue doing this? Like, you're going to evolve and change?
I really do not know. I really do not know I really do not have an answer to that. But I just feel I'll let it flow. I'll allow it to just flow. Whatever I find myself doing at the end of the day is what I'm doing. But I really don't know. I cannot say, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing in the next 5 years or in the next 2 years. Hopefully, and I pray to God that it's going to be a very good thing and a bigger stuff that I've been doing right now.
Thank you so much. So, final two questions. Ayobright, please, in 1 minute, please. Time is fast spent. Ayobright, go ahead. Ayobright. Okay. Ola Fakomi, please go ahead and ask your question. Ola Fakomi. I don't know why, but Peace, go ahead and ask your questions. We cannot hear Olafakomi and Bright. Peace, go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so hi, Tao.
Hi, Peace. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. So I wanted to ask, like, with the whole pressure, yeah, how do you manage like relationship with your friends? I mean, your circle. I'm sure you have like a circle and all of that. Like, does jealousy come in and like fights and all of that? Like, I know. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
So, for me, my circle is very small. My circle is just like this. I really do not have a circle. My best friend is Abula. That's like the only person I talk to from start, right from school. I only had a friend, and we've not been talking so much. You know, NYC transferred us, separated us, so we really have not been talking. I really do not have a circle. Let me not say I'm not a friendly type, but I'm not the type that has a lot of friends. So basically, I don't have anybody that would get jealous or anything, or anybody I have to turn my back against. People on my WhatsApp are just people that people that I talk to, not really my friends, or people I can call. That's my circle. So I really don't have a circle.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Amazing. So that is all the questions that we can take. As promised, I will definitely look to having your questions sent to her, and if she could answer in the best possible way, she will type them and they will be sent to every participant after the session. So thank you so much for your time, Taoma. Now we really have to go and move into the breakout rooms, but that'll be all for it. We really appreciate you as and yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Breakout rooms, we have career breakout room, we have the finance breakout room, and we have the personal branding. In all the groups, these links have been shared, and I will be sharing now. Please join the different groups that you feel is best in terms of what you're looking to have down the line. So please, let's move to the breakout rooms now. Thank you very much. What do I say? I'm muted. Please move into breakout rooms. Please move into different breakout rooms. Please move into the different breakout rooms.